Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast. I am your host, Shannan Mondor. Today's episode is a continuation of my series, You Are Not the Only One. I was brought forth to do this series because during my healing from my addiction to alcohol, there were so many times that the universe had brought me to stillness. And during those times is when I learned so many things about myself, and I was guided. I was guided to talk openly about my past, my abuse, my addiction, and to speak my truth. From those moments of silence is when we learn, we grow, and then we teach and help others. Today, I have a very, very special guest. All of my guests have been very special, but this one in particular, because she is my niece. Her name is Pamela Larocque. And Pamela is a published author, and she is a life purpose mentor. So welcome, Pamela. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So Pamela, let's get right into your story. May is a very special month for you. So if you can explain to everybody, and then you can get into your moment of stillness and silence that brought you to where you are today.
Okay. So May 2nd is Nonketotic Hyperglycaemia Awareness Day around the world. And our second son was born with this rare genetic condition. And I'll refer to it as NKH. That's the abbreviated term. So Ryken was born in October of 2005, October 18th, and we didn't know what was going on with him after he started nursing. 24 hours after he started eating, his lips started turning blue. The doctors didn't know what was going on. He was put into NICU, and it was a waiting game. We finally found out about 10 days later that he had this condition and that he would not live long. And they were right. He was in the hospital, out of the hospital, back in. And then eventually we ran into a nurse from NICU that seen us in the intensive care unit because he was too old then, of course, to go back into neonatal. And she had said to us, you can ask to go to a children's hospital because he was born in Regina. We were in the Regina Hospital General. And so we realized, well, we can go to somewhere else. No one had ever told us that we could go anywhere else. So we were airlifted to Winnipeg, Ryken and I, and Brett and his dad drove out through the night and followed us there. And the next day we met with our neonatologist because they had no room in pediatrics. So they put us back into NICU. And he was an amazing doctor, but he was very clear with us. They had the technology to do a brain scan and said his brain was completely damaged. He wouldn't be coming off of life support. He would eventually have a tracheotomy. And so in those moments in the doctor's office, without even discussing, Brett and I said, well, he can't live like that. And so we made the decision to take him off of life support. Mm-hmm. And our family came out to say goodbye to him. And we got to have 8 days with him in the family room. And I guess hospice, palliative care, and till he ascended to heaven.
Mm-hmm. And how old was Ryken when he passed over?
He was about just short of being 2 months old, 6 days short of being 2 months old. So he passed away on December 12th of 2005.
And after that, I'm sorry. So after this tragic episode, where did it lead you?
You know, it led me to question why me, why Brett and I, why us. Brett and I are carriers of this condition. So our firstborn could have had it, but he didn't. There's a 1 in 4 chance with every pregnancy. And so we didn't know at the time either when Ryken passed if we would be able to have more children together. And it just led me questioning, like, I don't even understand what life's about. You self-doubt lots of things just about why are we here? Why are we going through these things? Do we make the right decisions along the way? But at the same time, when I look back, now that I've worked on healing, the universe and God and guides and angels, we were set up fully to be supported throughout that time. And it was difficult. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. We always get the question or the statement, you can never recover from losing your baby, and I don't agree with that for myself. And again, I'm not saying this for others who have gone through loss of a child, whether it's an adult or a young child or during pregnancy. But for me, I had this deep desire to heal, to find joy again. I was very depressed, very anxious. I had PTSD, I believe, from watching Ryken die. He lasted 8 days after. We sat with him for 8 days, being scared to go to the washroom. We didn't shower for 8 days because, what if he passed away while we were gone? Mm-hmm. But we slept really well at night, which was kind of bizarre, considering we didn't know if he'd be there in the morning. But it kind of became our little world there. And then after that happened, the world just feels very different. The world felt surreal. I didn't want to see people. I'm really grateful beyond measure that we had a firstborn healthy son that helped me to maintain routine and structure and focus as best as I could. And that's what I focused on, was Caden. So yeah, it really shifted who I was. And all these years I've been trying to figure out who I am again. And it led me to many different things. It led me to talk to healers, to energy workers, to the other side. I just questioned everything. I was raised Catholic. As I grew up, I associate more with maybe the United Church, or more of a spirituality sense, as I think everybody comes from love. And I mean, I call it God, but I believe in the creator. I believe in whatever you believe as a person, I think is who you're supposed to believe, or what you're supposed to believe in. I just think we all have a path, and it's quite clear that even from your experience, we have a path. We're meant to do things. We choose to heal. We choose not to. Try not to judge it either way. So,
right. So when you were on your journey to healing, talk about those different avenues that you partake in, and because it's very interesting. Very, very interesting, because that also led you to be a published author.
Right. So I was a social worker. And so before I had children, I thought the world with kids was going to be a certain way, and it never is. At least it wasn't for me the way I thought it would be. But it gave me the tools to understand I really needed to have a support system. And we had just moved to Moose Jaw. We'd only been there 18 days when Ryken was born. So I had no friend group. I had no community. I had nothing. I mean, my husband had his job, and that's why we moved. And so I had to start from scratch and go build a network for Caden and I. And so we went to some church groups, and they didn't align. They wanted you to come and listen to the Bible and read the Bible. And I wasn't interested in that. I don't know that I would be interested now either. It's just not my thing. I'm interested to learn about it if someone wants to share some things, but it just wasn't my thing then. And then we found a mother and toddler group later on that was out at the air base, and there was lots of people who had moved. People were very friendly. You were there with your children the whole time. It just fit. And I met one of my best friends there. She had just moved here from England, and she was a godsend. And Caden was in between her boy and girl. And so he had like a brother and a sister almost for years and years. And the other thing that led me to one of the biggest healing was a nurse called and reached out to me in January telling me about the support group in Moose Jaw. It's a pregnancy and infant loss support group. They had free counseling. And that was my lifeline as well for that outlet. And after Ryken had passed away, I also went and talked to a medium to get some answers. And so then later on in life, I probably about what was 2010, I began learning about energy work.
Mhm.
And that's what really helped me publish my books, was clearing out the energy that was stuck there. Even though I had embraced it through counseling, through walking, through trying to build my own community, setting really healthy boundaries, taking very good self-care, but I was still struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, struggling with depression, struggling with anxiety that something might happen to Caden.
Mhm.
So just, it was a balancing act. I had to have my life very simple. And even now I keep my life as simple as I can. I just chaos, and I don't want chaos. I don't like chaos. Try
Mhm.
really hard to not have it in my life in any area.
Well, I just find that chaos is a way of covering up for other things that are happening in your life, right? Or that you don't want to be subjected to. So the more quiet you are, the more still you are, that gives you a chance to focus on what you're supposed to be focusing on. Chaos is a distraction. And there's a lot of people out there that love chaos, that create chaos, so then they don't have to deal with the stuff that really matters that they should be dealing with, right? So you're in
Yeah.
the right spot. I'm in the right spot. We know so many people, and of course we attract people that are in the exact same spot we are, right? And as you can see it throughout this whole podcast, this series, we are attracting all the same type of people, right? We're all on our life purpose, our life journey. What was that pivotal moment? I know the pivotal moment for me when I wrote my book. What was the pivotal moment for you that brought you forward and you're like, okay, I need to write a book? Was there a pivotal moment?
Well, I think there are many pivotal moments. I think my guides and angels get very frustrated with me, but I had been working on the manuscript. And there was a woman who had passed away, and she had lost a child years and years and years ago. And she, I, I could just feel like maybe, and I know she had a lot of grief still from her loss. And there was a part of me that felt maybe if my book had got to her, I could have helped her. And of course, that's the ego, because she had her own plan. Like, I'm not here to save anybody's soul. But as a human being and a mother, it really pushed me to say to myself, just do it. What if you help someone?
Right.
And that's why I did it. And then the other thought process is always, for me, I do not want to come back in another lifetime and go through the same loss. And I need to write it out, share it, and get it out there so that that part of my soul contract is done. So, and I live a life really, what will I regret? Like,
Right.
that was also what Ryken taught me. Life is short. What would I regret doing if I didn't do it? And not finishing my books, I would regret it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Now you talk about your guides and your angels, and you work alongside the archangels. Can you explain a little bit about that, Pamela?
Well, I ended up learning about integrated energy therapy in, it was 2012 maybe. And I had learned Reiki in 2010. And Reiki I enjoyed it. It was interesting. But once I learned integrated energy therapy, working with the angels, where they help you to release emotions that no longer serve you, like distrust, guilt, anger, resentment. There's quite a few more, but once they help you to release that in the client or yourself, then they imprint the energies, positive energies of trust, of love, of forgiveness, ease. And it just resonated because I'm a social worker, possibly, I don't know, but and doing the work, like when I did energy work on someone with the integrated energy therapy, it just like it just felt right. It's like I was born to do this. Whereas the Reiki, it was interesting, but it didn't align with me like the integrated energy therapy. Even the symbols, like, it's just easy. It's like brushing my teeth with integrated energy therapy.
Mhm.
I love, there's just such a softness with the angels and compassion and kindness. And it's, yeah, I love doing energy work.
Through your whole journey and where you are now, where are you now? Where are you now in life? Like, do you take clients on, or, you know, what does the every average day of Pamela Larocque, what is it like?
Well, I finished my second book in my series in 2019, and that fall, we got news that my husband's job wanted him to come out to British Columbia. And so we had to move within 3 months. And it was very hard for our children. And so in that 3 months, ironically, we ended up finding a home, and we moved the day of Ryken's 14th birthday, death anniversary, I guess. It's not his birthday, but it's angelversary. And Caden and Kieran were devastated with the move. And you know, when you see your children hurting,
Mhm.
and you're part of why, it was pretty painful experience. And I remember being clear on the plane and crying and like saying to myself, like, oh, how are we gonna get through this? And Ryken clearly said to me, you've lost before, you lost me. You'll get through this. It's just a move. And that's why it had to be on today's date, December 12th, because otherwise you don't, like, I don't get things unless they're really like a smack in the face.
Mhm.
So that was a wake up call. It's like, yeah, we will get through this. But what happened was I would say I was 90% healed from because I wrote the books and I had embraced all of that, and I had energy work while I was writing to pull out all the old emotions. But my PTSD came back these last 2.5 years from the move. Just fear, because every time I turn around where we live, there's somebody that's high, strung out in the downtown area, drunk. It's getting a little bit better. And of course, we don't really go in those areas too much, but it's, you know, it's just that fear. And, you know, your podcast is called Fear Fighter. And, you know, when you're fearful of your children and you've lost a children, I know what can be, you know, what could happen. You know,
Mhm.
I don't want to have to pick out another grave site. I don't want to pick out another casket. You know, even with you know, drinking and driving, I'm very clear with people, like, you can't have any alcohol when you're driving my kids. And if you're, you know, I know there's a legal limit, but our limit is no drinking, period. And I can come get my kids, and every single person I've talked to about it, they've said, no worries, Pam, we won't have any alcohol. That's fine. You
Mhm.
know, and I had more fear of losing the kids than the fear of what that person would think about me.
Mhm.
You know, fear of me not being the mom to say this to them. And so I know I'm kind of going around in a roundabout way of where I am, but really right now I'm trying to finish my third, fourth, and fifth books in the series. But I'm also a balancing act of, you know, maintaining Caden and Kieran getting a sense of support and community, and feeling like this is their home now, which they do. And it's been 3.5 years. So that's good.
Do you feel that that is your home now? Do you feel,
Yeah,
do you
I
feel
do.
good with it?
I
And
do. I mean, the nature of BC and the beauty here is the warmer weather. It's a gift to live here. And I think now that the kids are finally settled, I can plant roots energetically. I didn't feel grounded here. I didn't feel like I belonged here. And then of course we went through COVID, and you know, you can't meet friends when you can't go into people's houses, right?
right,
Like, it's
exactly.
really,
Well,
really difficult.
it's so funny. We were just talking about COVID yesterday at yoga, and it really, like, that 2 years of COVID, it's like a total time warp, and
Yeah.
it's so weird now that you look back at it. But it's a time warp. But at the same time, that was the most growth I have ever had in my entire life, uh,
Mhm.
because I was, like everybody else, I was forced to sit in my stillness, figure out who I was, where I was going in life. And I couldn't be more thankful for COVID for that reason alone.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, I think there were some silver linings for people through COVID for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think people slowing down was a big one, right?
Right. Right. And I know that I have continued to slow down.
Hmm.
I didn't go back full swing, like I did before, because I don't want to. I don't ever want to go back to that version of me,
Hmm.
from my past. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So through your whole process, what is the biggest thing that you have learned for yourself?
For myself. Oh, there's so many things, I guess, but the biggest thing I've learned is that it's really important to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to be kind to yourself. It's important to forgive yourself. It's important to look at the relationships you have with people and look at it as what can I learn from it rather than maybe blaming or um, I'm not sure what the other word would be. I've really accepted life circumstances and life experiences as gifts and that it built up the courage and strength when I needed it the most.
Right.
And so, yeah, I feel like I'm on a chapter of my life now where I can see things really truly from a different perspective, from a higher self perspective. And the ego is rarely in play. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. And what is it that you want others to know? What advice would you like to give to others?
I guess because it's NKH Awareness Month, but I don't really want to, it's like all loss or all grieving. I think that they're still there. There's always going to be a connection. They're helping us. I know Ryken constantly has helped us and is helping us, and it brings me peace knowing that. And I do want that for others because I didn't have peace for a long time. But at the same time, I don't want to push my ideation onto someone else either because it's a fine line when it comes to pregnancy and infant loss, right? Like you don't want to offend someone by your ideals, but yet what if I could help them from sharing my story, you know?
Mhm.
I really had to embrace accepting Ryken's life was Ryken's life and not why did I lose my second son? I wanted to raise two boys. Because what happens when I stay stuck in that why me and the resentment train, I guess, um, I'm just not a happy person. And I couldn't be happy for Caden either, right? Or what's coming ahead, or for my husband and I, or our family. So for me, I really had to sit back and accept and work at accepting his life and my loss, and then move forward to joy again and to really feel it in my heart, not just to fake it, you know, because you can fake it at times and then go home and cry. But
Right.
my goal was to I wanted to really feel it in my heart. So I really had to grieve. I really had to embrace, you know, counseling, energy work, healing, time alone, setting very healthy boundaries with people. I said no a lot for years to things when I was grieving Ryken. I didn't want to and I couldn't, and I just said no. So I think if people understand, you know, you should really go within and think about what you really want, what's important to you, and then just do that. Find the path, find people to help you, find your support system, and just, you know, sort out yourself because it's important
Mhm.
to find your peace and to find your joy. And again, at the other part of me is like, you don't have to either. I don't judge that either. You don't have to heal or you don't have to find joy because it is a silly idea for some people, right? How do you think I would find joy if my child's not here?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
was on that train initially, but now I'm on, you know, I know why he was here. I signed up to be his mom. I'm grateful that I helped him. He's helped me immensely.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Are there any final words that you would like to say to the audience? You know, the name of your book, your books. You know, if someone wants to purchase your books, how would they? What are the titles, and where can they be purchased, Pamela?
Okay. Well, the reason I started writing the books is because when I went to see a medium in Halifax, Ryken came and told her I was going to write books. And I said, no, I'm not writing books. She said, oh, no, he said the first one's done. Well, the first one was just letters to him and journals of just my, you know, loving him or missing him or my pain and my sorrow in wicker baskets, right?
Mhm.
So I was kind of like, I don't think I'm going to be writing books. Like, I just couldn't believe it. She said, no, they're going to come. There'll be quite a few. And you're kind of in denial a bit, like, no, and I don't love writing. So the first one, it ended up being called Ryken's Journey. And what happened when I got home that summer from the wedding, we were out in Halifax with, I said to the universe, can you please show me a sign that there's supposed to be just one book or two books? Well, my neighbor across the street came over and hadn't seen her for 3 weeks. We were on holidays and she brought her kids and the kids were playing. And she said, Pam, I had the weirdest dream about you last night. I dreamt you a book called Chasing Rainbows. And I said, oh, thank you. Can I use that for my second book title? And she's like, what, you're writing a book? And I told her the whole mediumships crossover session. And so it was quite interesting. So the next day I got guidance, right, through my neighbor so it's called Ryken's Journey and Chasing Rainbows. In the pregnancy and infant world, loss, when you lose a baby, the next baby that lives and is healthy is called your rainbow baby. So it was a fitting title, Chasing Rainbows.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So they're working on a third, a fourth, and a fifth in the series. So my Bridging Self to Soul series. So they're called Ryken's Journey, Chasing Rainbows, and it's on my website, www.pamelalarocque.ca. And that's where you can order them. You can contact me to order them as well if you want a signed copy. But
and just so the audience does know, all the information for Pamela will be in the notes on the podcast too. So all you have to do is go onto the podcast, scroll down, and it'll be in the notes section. Is there any final words, Pamela, that you would like to say to the audience?
I think I've always, even as a child, I felt loneliness, I guess. And I've kind of had to embrace that as I got older, because when it came to Ryken and the NKH world, I felt very lonely too. In the NKH world, there was children that are alive because there's different conditions of NKH, and he had the neonatal classic form where he passed away. And so I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere at that time until I went to my pregnancy and infant loss support group. So I feel like sometimes in life you have to keep searching for the place that you belong until you find it, because it makes all the difference in the world to know your people and to be with people where you feel like you can be yourself, whatever you're going through at that time. So I just want to leave people with that, just to keep searching. Don't give up on yourself if you want to heal. Just keep reaching out, ask for guidance, and be open to whatever they're going to send your way. You just never know.
That's very beautiful advice, Pamela. Well, I want to say thank you very much for being on the podcast. And, thank you for being a part of my journey. I am blessed.
Well, thank you. I was excited to meet with you today, and I'm very proud of what you've accomplished for yourself. And I'm very excited to see what you are going to do.
Oh, I know.
How many you're going to help.
Well, thank you very much. And have a wonderful, wonderful day, Pamela.
Yes, you too. Take care. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.